Welcome everyone to the CA leadership meeting. Today we're going to go over 4 topics.
I'm going to be talking about the 4 functions of behavior, which Rocco went over a little bit today, but I'm going to go more in depth with it. So if you are like me, then the 4 functions have been burned into your brain at this point, but which is a good thing because we do need to know them to understand people and their behaviors in a more productive way. Because ultimately, people don't have behaviors for no reason. It's a means of communication for something that they desire or something that they do not want. Behaviors can appear in similar ways for each function, which I think it's important to understand what the antecedent is of the behavior, which is what happened right before the behavior occurred. And then after the behavior occurred to deliver an appropriate consequence or the response to the behavior. So the 4 functions of behavior are attention, escape, access to tangibles, and access to sensory stimuli. So attention-maintained behavior is when a behavior occurs in order to gain somebody's attention, whether it's them looking at them, being close to them, or negative attention like making the class laugh during a lecture or something. Other examples are someone screaming in class, not respecting personal space, throwing items. How do you know that the behavior was to gain attention? This is when you look at the antecedent. So what happened right before the behavior occurred? Here's an example that I came up with. A child wants to play with his mom, so he walks into the room that his mom is in with a game, but notices that she's on the phone. Instead of waiting until she's done talking on the phone, the child starts screaming until his mom hangs up the phone and then gives him her attention. The consequence or the response to the behavior can lead to either an increase in the behavior or a decrease in the behavior, depending on what response you give. So in this situation, the child learned that screaming and crying got their mom's attention, which might mean in the future they will scream and cry for attention. Alternatively, the mother could have waited until the screaming stopped, then gave their child the attention and maybe provided some functional equivalent behavior so that they could learn how to appropriately request for attention. Waiting until they're done on the phone, maybe waving while they're on the phone and then waiting. So that's attention. You can see I have my student raising their hand, gaining attention. Then the next function is escape. Escape-maintained behavior occurs when someone is trying to get out of something or avoid it altogether. So this can look like someone running out of a classroom when a task is presented, which that would be the antecedent, is a task is presented to them. Or throwing vegetables across the table, the vegetables being the antecedent. Or hiding from their parents when it's time to go for a dentist appointment, which I kind of don't blame because I hate going to the dentist, I don't know about you. Different strategies to use when you see escape behavior. I like to use antecedent choice or first then statements, timers, saying something like, would you like to eat 4 or 5 pieces of your vegetables before eating dessert? Or first do 3 problems of your worksheet and then you could have a break. So this kind of lets the learner know that there's a start and an end to something, and it might encourage them to do the task, knowing that once there is an end, they will get a reward. The next function is access to tangibles. So this function occurs when someone wants access to a desired item or activity. Some examples, a child is playing with toys when they're supposed to be doing a school assignment. Teacher comes over, takes the toys away, points down to the assignment, which might lead the child to start screaming, start engaging in self-injurious behavior, and then the teacher gives them their toys back, and then the behavior stops. In this situation, the child learned that screaming and hurting themselves might lead to getting them what they want, so it could increase the behavior in the future. Antecedent choice, again, is a good one. Would you like to do, the problem number 1, or do you want to start with problem number 2 and then go back to number 1? Or, first we're going to do 3 problems on this worksheet and then you could have a break. But ultimately, if you do have a learner who does engage in self-injurious behavior, it's important to keep your child safe, use blocking, restraint is last resort, and if you ever need any help, always ask someone that's around you if there is someone around you. People are usually pretty helpful with those situations. The last function that I'll talk about is access to sensory stimuli. This behavior functions to give someone internal sensation that pleases them or removes an internal sensation that they don't like. So some examples of that could be scratching a bug bite to relieve the itch, or rocking back and forth, chewing on objects, whether that's because they like the feeling of the object, or maybe they have a toothache and that pressure relieves the pain that's in their mouth. Again, there's a lot of different strategies that you could use to avoid behaviors. Blocking, differential reinforcement, giving them alternatives, so like with chewing objects, maybe giving them like a chewy or something that they can chew on. Another good strategy is sensory extinction. So in a situation where maybe someone is scratching their skin because they like how it feels, but they're scratching so much that their skin is starting to bleed, it might be helpful to have the learner wear gloves so that the problem behavior can still occur, but it's not producing the same reinforcing sensation anymore, so hopefully that behavior decreases, and then the gloves can be faded away. There's a lot of different methods you can use to respond to these types of behavior for each function. Yeah, that's all I have. So if anyone has any questions or wants to share any situations that they have or need any advice, please let me know.
Good job.
All right, thanks. Thanks.